name's Sarah, this is Abby, and welcome to Azul Unlimited. I'm a scuba instructor, and I owned a dive shop in Indonesia until global shutdowns changed the trajectory of my career. I moved into my van out of necessity, but now it's my tool for traveling, teaching, and guiding dive expeditions worldwide. Today I have a very special announcement. I'm finally heading to the Midwest. And no, it won't be in my van. I was invited to speak at Shipwrecks Scuba, the Midwest's top scuba diving event, on November 16th, 2024, and we're going to be celebrating their 40th anniversary. This conference brings together divers across the US and Canada to learn from expert speakers, which I guess I'm an expert speaker. It's weird to think about. And we're going to be covering topics including Great Lakes wreck history, diving safety, technical diving, underwater photography, and adventurous dive destinations. This event is designed for all levels of scuba divers and is perfect for networking, which is exactly what I plan to do while I'm there. There will be multiple daytime speakers as well as a keynote dinner program. We're even talking about a possible meetup and dive situation, so if you want to know more about that, follow me on Instagram because that's where I'll be sharing all of that stuff. If you're interested in the event, see more details and get my discount code in the description below. Let's get into the video. Okay, this is part 2 of my 2-part series on strong currents. So if you missed the first one, you can add that to your watch list later. I've linked it in the description below. In that first video, we talked about just diving in strong currents in general. This video is going to focus on the intense currents that can be scary for us as scuba divers. And that includes up, down, washing machine, and vortex. These types of currents typically happen when a strong current hits a wall or when opposing currents meet. Wild currents can be quite simple to spot from the surface. Choppy water when there isn't a lot of wind is a great indicator. And if you see random smooth spots within that choppy water, that's a good sign that there's something interesting happening there, right? An up current or a down current. Now let's talk about noticing these currents underwater. I mentioned this in the previous video, but there are some nuances here. Sometimes these types of currents can come out of nowhere. However, if you look ahead in the direction in which you're going and you pay attention to the fish, you can usually get a good idea of what you're getting yourself into. If the current isn't too strong, you'll see fish fighting against the current, right? Swimming into the current. Or when they relax, they'll float with the current and just fall down or up or around, depending on what type it is. Soft coral and kelp are still great indicators for telling you what the current situation is. In my experience, when a really strong current is present, the fish bail. So as you're heading in one direction, if all of a sudden there's nothing in one particular area of the reef, take a moment to decide if you want to continue going that way. Let's break down the different currents and how to deal with them. First, we have the up current. This current is pushing you up towards the surface. What you need to do is switch your body so that you swim down and at a 45-degree angle. While you're doing that, you're releasing from your back hip dump valve. The main concern with this type of current is DCS. So if you need to, grab onto the reef and do your best to grab onto dead coral or rock and make sure it's not something that's going to stab or bite you, and climb to the side out of the current. Both up and down currents tend to function kind of like riptides. That means you simply need to move to the side and you can typically get out of them. A down current is pushing you down to the very depths of the dive site. This can be scary for our eardrums, right? And also if we're diving with nitrox, we could go beyond what's safe for our gas blend. In this situation, we switch our body position so our fins are down and we're able to swim up at a 45. You can also add air to your BCD to help your efforts, but make sure that you're ready to dump that air so you don't have a runaway ascent. And again, if necessary, grab onto the reef and climb your way out. Both up and down currents tend to be the strongest right at the wall. So if you get blown off the dive site, it can be quite scary because you're like out in the blue, but try to calm yourself down by knowing that you're more than likely free from the worst of the intensity of that current. And you just need to slowly make your way up to the surface. Now, washing machines. A washing machine tends to happen in places like overhangs. That's where a current can come into a space and kind of bounce all over the place, making it a washing machine where you'll just go, ah. Before you go into an overhang, check out what the fish are doing. Are they moving erratically kind of all over the place, that might be a good indicator that maybe we'll skip the overhang on this dive. If you're inside and it comes up, like the current increases while you're there, you have to be a little creative to get out of there. Sometimes you might be able to ride an up current out of the overhang and onto the reef, and sometimes you might need to rock climb. You could also swim directly out and away from the wall, but that could get a little bit messy and you might get blown off the reef. My go-to is to always try to stay on the reef so that I have the boat and the crew ready to help me if needed. But if the best option is to go out into the blue, like, you got to make that judgment call in the moment. Now, vortexes. I don't have any personal experience with this one, but many of you have probably seen that crazy vortex video from divers in SOCORRO. I included that video in one of my reaction videos for like dive accidents. In that video, you can see the divers just like spinning, right? And the bubbles are trapped in this vortex, this long, skinny stream of current. During that dive, the diver tried to swim out, but just couldn't make any headway. It may have helped to inflate their BCD a little bit. It probably would have helped to not have split fins. We talked about split fins in the last current video. I don't think that split fins are necessarily a bad thing. Like, in general, they have a place and a purpose, but they have none in diving in strong currents. Like, they should not be there. In that video, the dive buddies came in to rescue. So they grabbed the diver and helped pull them out of that vortex. Generally, with any of these currents, moving in the perpendicular direction of the current is the safest bet. Again, just like a riptide, you just need to get out of the pull of that current. So in my mind, that's how I would deal with the vortex. If the vortex is going this way, I would want to go this way, or this way, or this way, or this way. Right? You don't need to be afraid of currents, okay? I hear this all the time, that people are really scared to go to places with strong currents. Take the advice from my previous video. Go with people that understand currents and can help teach you, guide you through these types of dives, and then get experience with them and make sure that you're in the right headspace to do this type of diving, right? We need to stay calm. We need to have a relaxation protocol in like our daily lives so that when we do have a complicated situation in the water, we're able to see the full picture and act appropriately to get us, our dive buddies, our team out safely. All right, I believe that's all I have to say about currents for now. If you still have questions or if you have any tips that I forgot to include, please leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to join me on a dive trip, you can check out my upcoming expeditions on my website. And in the meantime, you can get more from the Azul Unlimited community by joining Patreon. Okay, love you, bye!